To the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Dr. Bobby Lovett, who is a retired professor from Tennessee State University, and the topic is the Centennial of Tennessee State University 2012. And of course, Dr. Lovett, let's see if we can pick up where we left off and to have you to give us some information dealing with education after the end of the Civil War and some of the things that eventually led up to the establishment of Tennessee State University in 1909, during that period.
Well, in March of 1865, the Tennessee General Assembly and the people abolished slavery in the state. In December of 1865, the 13th Amendment to the National Constitution was approved, and slavery was abolished across the nation. However, Tennessee did not have any public higher education for anyone, but Congress had passed the Morrill Land Grant Act to give land, and you use the land scrip to sell and to raise funds to start a state university. Most of the northern states had already done that, but southern states like Tennessee, which had withdrawn from the Union, they had no public higher education for anybody, for blacks or whites. But in 1867, Congress gave them some money too, and Tennessee gave that money to what is today University of Tennessee. However, Tennessee also had an 1867 law that fostered racial segregation, and so blacks could not attend what then was the East Tennessee University, which became UT University. But blacks gained the right to vote in Tennessee in February of 1867. And between 1872 and 1895, 14 blacks served in the General Assembly of Tennessee. And they demanded that blacks too be given access to higher education. So Tennessee took part of the money and gave fellowships to about 5 or 6 blacks per year, where they could go to Fisk or Central Tennessee, those colleges I mentioned.
They were already in existence.
Which were in existence, and they were private institutions. So that existed until about 1892, and in 1891-92, with the amendment to the Land Grant Act, Tennessee gave the money to Knoxville College, and Knoxville College admitted a few blacks on these Morrill scholarships. That lasted until 1912, when finally, of course, Tennessee State University was established, and the money went to Tennessee State University as a land grant institution. Consequently, you have what you have today, 2 land grant institutions in the state. One was started for blacks, Tennessee A&I State Normal School, in 1912, and the other one, of course, had been started for whites, the University of Tennessee, which the state of Tennessee assumed took over in 1905, 1907, and it became a state institution. So now you had 2 land grants, one for whites, one for blacks, and when Tennessee State University was conceived by General Assembly legislation in 1909, in March of 1909, there were 3 other schools created for whites: Middle Tennessee State University, East Tennessee State University, and what we call today University of Memphis was West Tennessee State Normal School for whites. So by 1912, you have 5 public higher educational institutions, and Tennessee State University is one of those. But the burden upon that institution, it must serve all of the blacks across the state
of Tennessee.
And blacks were 26%. They were 1 out of every 4 people in Tennessee after the Civil War. The other population, they have 4 institutions to serve them: University of Tennessee, today's Middle Tennessee State, East Tennessee State, and West Tennessee State Normal, today's University of Memphis.
And so Tennessee State University was really created because of the need for some institution to deal with these Africans, especially during the period of separation. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, because they are still pretty much without higher educational access. except those little scholarships, you could go to Fisk and so on. But when Tennessee State was started, they cut those out because now you can go free to a black college, and that's Tennessee State, which opens June 19th, 1912.
Now, what was the ultimate decision, since they had only one African institution? What was the decision to cite it in Nashville rather than in some other area? I mean, how did that all come about?
Well, that was a political decision, but it was a fair competition. So the same thing for MTSU, East TSU, Memphis State. The cities bid on the institution once the legislation was passed in 1909, 1910, and whoever raised the most money to accommodate the school. And people like Henry Allen Boyd, Preston Taylor, J.C. Napier, Benjamin Carr, black businessmen led the effort to make sure that the school would be located in Nashville. And that's how it got here. The decision was made to place it in Nashville, which was a good decision because it's in the middle of the state. And Negroes had to come from all across the state in order to go to this new public college.
And so this institution is created in 1909, but it starts in explain that. I mean,
well, 1909 is the legislation, the state normal bill.
Okay.
And that bill creates 4 institutions, 3 for whites, 1 in East Tennessee, 1 in Middle Tennessee, 1 in West Tennessee, and 1 for Negroes.
And so out of that, Tennessee State University would emerge as the school that would be cited in Nashville, and that would be called Tennessee.
That's correct.
What was the name of that institution originally?
Tennessee Agricultural and Industrial State Normal School.
Now, was there any reason for all of that name? I mean, how do you...
Well, that is explained in the books. There was some racial politics involved.
Okay.
So they inserted those 2 words, agriculture and industrial. Industrial is a word below mechanical, like Florida A&M, you know, mechanical. Mechanical means engineering, but they didn't mean for the Negroes to practice engineering, so they inserted the word industrial.
Very good. And of course, we're getting ready for our first commercial break, Dr. Lovett, but that's essentially the information to understand that prior to 1912, higher education really did not, for all practical purposes, exist for a large number of Africans in the state of Tennessee. I would imagine that would probably be true in the southern parts of the United States. In a real sense, would that be true?
Yeah, there are many institutions that will be started kind of late for African Americans.
Very good. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.